I'm newly amazed at the opposition's lack of knowledge of parliamentary procedure. I would submit to you, Mr. Speaker, that there is no prima facie case of parliamentary privilege, that there's already been a full and sincere apology given by the member in question, and that indeed this is another example of the opposition's frivolous waste of the legislature's time. Mr. Speaker, I will confine my remarks to the matter before us right now, which is not the resolution, as the member opposite has spoken on, but rather the rules. And the rules that the opposition member has brought forward is a motion pursuant to our standing rules 9.2. And I will remind you, Mr. Speaker, as I'm sure you're already aware, that 9.3 says very clearly that the Speaker will not accept such a motion unless satisfied that there is a prima facie case of a breach of privilege. Now, Mr. Speaker, therefore, the question before you now is there an apparent issue of privilege? And that has to be addressed before we can even address the motion. It begs the question, what is privilege? Privilege is often misunderstood by legislators, and as MLAs, we don't win the lottery when we get elected. We remain subject to the laws of Canada, we remain Canadian citizens, and we remain subject to the laws of life. Certain privileges are accorded to members of the Houses of Assembly so that it can function and so that we can perform our duties here. And I as well would like to quote Marleau and Malpetit. Indeed, the House has the authority to invoke privilege where its ability has been obstructed in the execution of its functions, or members have been obstructed in the performance of their duties. Now, other examples of privilege are, of course, freedom of speech, freedom of arrest, physical threats, as has been alleged, and disgraceful conflict. But Marleau and Malpetit go on to say that privilege essentially belongs to the House as a whole, and that individual members can only claim privilege insofar as the denial of any of their rights or threat to them would impede the functioning of the House. So, Mr. Speaker, the question is, has the House been impeded? And indeed, in our own rules of debate, I would refer to you to rule number 49, which says very clearly, in debate, members shall be called to, in debate, I stress in debate, members shall be called to order, and paragraph E says, using abusive language or insulting language of a nature likely to create disorder. And Mr. Speaker, this is in debate, not in the House. And that is clearly articulated in the standing rules. Now, the nature of the current allegations, the opposition House leader has taken this opportunity to go through a litany of unsupported allegations, none of which were raised at the first occasion. So we must deal with this issue at hand, not the list of other allegations that he offers unsubstantiated as to impugn my colleague's character. And in the original point of privilege that was made by the member from Dieppe, Senator Louisville, he said that the conduct was impolite, inappropriate, and disrespectful. That was the nature of his original concern. And in fact, the motion that was introduced speaks to gross contempt. But the allegations that we've heard just now are quite larger than that. We have to refer to the individual incident. And although it took place within the confines of the legislature, it was not on the record, it was not part of the debate, and it was a matter of personal perception. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, there's very little evidence for you to review. All honourable members are considered honourable members and are to be taken at their word. And we've already heard from the member in question. He's issued an apology. That apology does not imply guilt, but rather the opposite. It conveys his goodwill. And I'd like to reread that apology. Quote, "Certainly it was not my intent to offend, and I sincerely apologize, and I hope that the member opposite can accept my apology for it." Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, clearly the opposition do not understand the concept of privilege. The workings of the House were not interfered to by this incident. Privilege is accorded to them for the performance of their duties in the House. It does not and cannot protect them from perceived slights, especially on a personal level. And though these may be within the confines of the House, they have no impact on the functioning or the business of the House, except that as we are now taking important time away from other matters. Furthermore, a full and sincere apology has been offered by the member in question. Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt that an honourable member opposite was offended. An apology has been given. We must take the members at their word. This does not constitute a matter of parliamentary privilege. And I submit to you that since there is no prima facie matter of privilege here, that we cannot hear this motion. And I ask that you rule this motion out of order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.